Hey, Ken Conan with Aaron Sundin here, back at the bleachers talking a little Raider football. Huge win last week. That was one that was stinging from last year for me. Certainly, the jug had gone south to River Falls, and it's a tradition that you want to bring it back home. The welcome home the jug Instagram post got a boatload of likes. It's pretty fun to watch that blow up. What was your take on the game last week? Positive, negative, work on, keep doing. What your take?
Sure. So, yeah, big win. Obviously, we talked about this being the game you kind of circle on your schedule. That's the one you want to win. But so Hudson started off fast, and we've talked about this a little bit this year about how it'd be nice to kind of see them play a full 4 quarters. And kind of what I saw was a fast start, kind of a slowdown in the middle, and a good finish. So kind of not under the radar because we certainly called his name a lot, but people might not realize Mateo Bonin had 227 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and then also 3 catches for like 48 yards and a touchdown. So big game for Mateo. I also thought offensively, as part of that, the offensive line did a great job blocking. We had other guys that had some success running, including quarterback Owen Anderson. So shout outs there to Riley Hess, Blake Anderson, Ben Stelsner, Johnny Hartwig, and Andrew Coffey. Defensively, I thought, again, a tale of 3-4 quarters. We did a nice job in the first quarter and a half of really kind of containing them. They were going to continue to try to run with Kruger up the middle. That got maintained or at least controlled. They started to do some things outside and had some success. Big stop at the end of the first half by the defense, keeping them out of the end zone. Kind of a big turn of events that happened was to start the fourth quarter, River Falls went down and scored. So they were deep in our territory. Quarter flip, they came down, they scored. We went down and had a great drive to follow that, scored. Again, you could feel the momentum shifting kind of back and forth. And then a defense again stepped up, kept pushing them back. They had a fourth down call. They went for a fake punt, and obviously that got stopped. So Hudson gets the ball back, scores again, and that pretty much put the game out of reach. So I thought offensively in that fourth quarter, Owen Anderson did a really nice job of just managing the offense, making good decisions with the football and the option, that type of thing. And like I said, guys stepped up on the defensive side too. So it was a fun win. It also propelled in this kind of abbreviated or condensed set of teams that are playing this year in the state of Wisconsin. Hudson moved up to number 4 in the Division I coaches poll. So obviously there were a lot of people watching that game.
That's awesome. Awesome.
So
Good stuff.
good stuff. And then, like this week we get a non-conference game. We'll kind of get a feel for other teams in that same division as Hudson Division I. And like I mentioned last week, you try to look for like opponents. We don't have any, so this will be a fresh look for us, somebody we don't see all the time. I will say, though, that Hudson does occasionally scrimmage Wisconsin Rapids preseason. So last year, 2019, we would have scrimmaged them down in La Crosse.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of familiarity there.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for the take on last week's game. Stick around for our take on the Wisconsin Rapids squad coming up right now. Hey, it's Ken Conan and Aaron Sundin here in the bleachers, just on the backside of the high school here, catching a little bit of practice, doing a little warming up for the Wisconsin Rapid game coming up. Rapids game coming up on Friday evening here. We're hosting them. I know you've studied some film as always. I appreciate the homework
cheat sheet this week, but I think I've got it down.
So. Nice. So I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Sundin here. He'll tell you about what's coming up on tonight's game.
Yeah, so this week we've got Wisconsin Rapids as my notes float away. So it's the Wisconsin Rapids Lincoln Red Raiders.
Okay.
And they are 2-3 on the season. They've won their last 2 games. They had a win against Wausau East, big win against Wausau East 2 weeks ago, and then they beat Marshfield last week in a tight game, 14-13. So coming into this, a couple of wins. They're coached by a guy named Tony Biolo, and they are part of the Valley Football Association, which includes Stevens Point, Wausau East, Wausau West, DC Everest, Marshfield, Appleton West, and I believe that's it. But kind of a reformation of the conferences over there the last couple of years. So it's always been a pretty good conference for football when it comes to like the Spash, Stevens Point, Rapids has been good in the past. So DC Everest as well. They are on offense. They run a wing T offense, which we hear a lot of. It's a pretty common high school offense. They run it primarily with a fullback, just a fullback lined up about 3 yards behind the quarterback. Hudson runs kind of a similar wing T, but they have a tailback a little deeper set in a 2-point stance. The fullback's name is Leo Braschwitz. And he is kind of a bruiser. Watch some tape on him. Low to the ground. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, right? Yeah. But he will get a lot of quick handoffs, have some speed and some size, so he can certainly explode for some big plays. They play two different quarterbacks. One's name is Caden Singenbush, and he's more of the passing quarterback. And then they'll bring in another kid by the name of Preston Spray, and Preston Spray is more of a runner. So I would expect, last week River Falls had a quarterback in, a senior, for about maybe a half a quarter, and then they pretty much went with the same guy the rest of the way. I would think these guys are going to probably rotate almost maybe every other drive. So just something else for the defense to think about. Right. And then defensively, they run kind of it's going to be an interesting a defense to watch, because you see a lot of this sometimes in professional football, where you have a lot of guys in a 2-point stance kind of moving around the line. Sure. They'll have 2 down linemen sometimes 3, and then they'll move around a lot of different linebackers. So a couple of kids there on tape that stood out, kid by the name of Peter Rucker, and then also a young man by the name of Spencer Hawks, who seemed to be getting a lot of tackles for loss. So I would anticipate, again, they're playing with some momentum coming into this game after winning a couple in a row. I do think you'll see them throw the football, a pretty good balance as far as running and passing. Last week against River Falls, that was mainly a rushing attack until that didn't work, and then River Falls tried to do some short passes to kind of open up that running game. This team seems to do a little bit of both. And so, like I said, watch for those 2 quarterbacks kind of intermixing, and then the fullback, too, will probably play a big role.
Awesome. Thank you for the film review and the skinny on everything. I do appreciate that. That's very helpful. Well, thanks for tuning in tonight, the folks from Wisconsin Rapids, and of course all of our Hudson fans tuning in on Raider Streaming and the River Channel. Again, Ken Conan, Aaron Sundin will be bringing you a special interview coming up right after this one wraps up. Stay tuned. Coach is up next with Aaron.
Welcome to Raider Streaming. I'm Aaron Sundin, here tonight with Coach Adam Cowles of the Hudson Raiders, and going to talk a little bit tonight about the season so far, and also about Coach Cowles and his record here in Hudson. So congratulations so far this year, Coach, on the season, and a big congratulations too. We kind of did some digging and found out that you reached your 100th win 2 weeks ago against Rice Lake. Congratulations. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll be honest. I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't. We played the Rice Lake game, and apparently it was 100, and I didn't have any idea. And then we got another win, and now it's 101. I'll be honest with you. It really means you've played with you've had some great players playing for you, and some great coaches. I've never understood why, the head coach gets the record. It's the players that are working hard and getting it done, and just that we've had some great players and great teams over the years, and it's a lot of that has been is the reason, obviously, but it's a great coaching staff and the continuity that we've had with that group. So so I'm really thankful and lucky to be part of it.
So I believe you started coaching in Hudson in 2005. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So for those people that maybe don't know a little bit about you, can you tell us about your kind of how you came to Hudson and maybe things before that? I know you were a UW River Falls quarterback. Run the wishbone down there? Or?
Absolutely, yeah. I played at UW River Falls, and option team, ran Wishbone. Kind of like you see Rice Lake do, or Wisconsin Rapids will do this week against us. So, really fortunate to be there. I actually, I don't know if people know this, but I actually taught and coached at River Falls High School for a few years. My first job, was coaching at the high school at River Falls. I was actually the head baseball coach for 3 years, but years and years ago, over 20 years ago. And I kind of made my way back to Minneapolis. I coached, was the head coach at De La Salle High School in Minneapolis for 5 years, and that's where I went to high school and played. And then I just, this opportunity at Hudson came up, and it was a great opportunity to get back in this area, and just, had a chance to do it. In 2005, we got going in Hudson.
So you've had really a terrific football career here at Hudson as a coach. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your favorite memories? Again, you've had some great teams, and I'm sure you've had some characters come through the locker room. So tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we talk a lot about that as a coaching staff, over the years with some of the teams that we've had, and, just some of the stories, some of the, on-field little things that happen. But, we remember a lot of things. I can remember back in 2005, we're in the playoffs, and I think we had to, we're practicing out front where the stadium is, of course, and the field wasn't the stadium, but it was the practice fields, and we practiced late Sunday night because it was one of those times where you used to play. The last game was Thursday, then you'd play a Tuesday playoff, and we're practicing Sunday night, and we'd turn the lights on from the cars to get some extra light and things like that. But a lot of traveling. It seemed like for a long time we were going to Stevens Point every year, whether we were playing Stevens Point in the playoffs or we played, Appleton North there in the playoffs, or I think we played Green Bay Preble once. So, just a lot of travels on the bus. I remember the year we beat Arrowhead down there in 2016, coming off a tough year in 2015, and we go into Arrowhead and beat them at their place, and kind of got that year rolling. Had a great year there. A lot of the things, like I can remember in 2013 we lose to Minnetonka pretty bad, and then we run the table and we get to the state semis after that. And I remember being on the bus and asking Coach Ted, our O-line coach, can you believe we're here after that first game at Minnetonka? Then the next year Minnetonka comes over to our place at Newton, we beat them, and so a lot of great memories. I remember the last game at Newton, beating Chip in the playoffs. It was the last game we've ever played at Newton Field. So just a lot of great memories over the years. I can remember every single one, and probably the scores of most of them too. But a lot of fun to be around it.
Well, and you've certainly never had circumstances like you've had this year. And obviously it's had a big impact on the coaches having to plan, and obviously every week's different. Same thing with the players. Can you talk a little bit about how that's gone this year, how the changes maybe the staff's had to do and the players?
Right. Well, early on, we usually have the mini camp, and of course we couldn't do it with contact. So, we'd run plays without a ball, but there's no contact, or you're not even handing off and things like that. But it was just good to get around the guys. I feel for these guys because, I know I told some of the coaches last week, so much of what's going on is not normal for them. They're kind of losing some things, and I get it. It's kind of where we are right now, but, the pep fests and the home crowds and the homecoming and dances and, all the stuff of being a high school kid and hanging out in the hallways and all that stuff. And, but once you get football going on Friday nights, it's kind of normal. It's kind of the one thing that really brings us back to some normalcy. But it's been different this year. We really started, later, obviously, than normal. Didn't have the two-a-days and some of that team building. We just talked about it today. We didn't do in two-a-days. Some of the fun stuff, and we do senior skits and things like that. Well, without the two-a-days, we couldn't do it. But these guys have really kind of organically came together as the season's gone. We didn't force it; just kind of happens. And some of that is just from the on-field. Working hard together and going and battling with those guys together, and they just kind of are coming together as a team. So we're really, really happy about it.
Well, Coach, I am a parent of a player on your team, and have seen what you've done with this program. You've truly built a tradition here, football tradition. Congratulations to you. much more success, and thank you for everything you do for the boys.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for you guys. Our fans, our community. I can't say enough about what we have. That the people that follow us and the people that are at games, and obviously when we do have crowds, they're huge, and people watching you guys, and just the support that we have is unbelievable. And this is kind of why I came to Hudson. I'm from Minneapolis, and like I said, I went to De La Salle High School in Minneapolis, and great. I love the place, and that's kind of home too. But at the same time, there wasn't that small town Friday night lights in the community, and that's what we get here, and that's why I came here, and I just can't say enough about how appreciative I am of what we have.
Well, thank you, Coach Adam Cowles, Hudson Raiders football. Good luck this week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.